Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Views from the Basement. Mr. Wilson here. And today we're going to be breaking down and reviewing the first two episodes of the new Star Wars show, Ahsoka. And before we get into that, please don't be afraid to go down and click that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it here. So the show starts out with a opening crawl sequence, and that was an interesting touch, right? Compared to the mainline movies, this had a very different feel to it, with the more ominous score in the background and the red text. Felt very different than what we're used to in that regard. And we are introduced immediately to a former Jedi who has apparently gone to the dark side and has an apprentice. Now, a couple interesting things here. The word Sith is not used in either of the first two episodes here, so it's possible that they are not that. And also, they do not seem to be using the more traditional Sith lightsaber with the red blade. These two Jedi or Dark Jedi or whatever they are, their blades seem to have this dark orange hue to them. Anyway, these two Force users get aboard a Republic ship and they break out this other character who turns out to be a Night Sister of Dathomir. And once they spring her from her jail, we find out that they are looking for a star map, which they believe is going to lead them to the last known location of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then we find out later this location happens to be in an entirely different galaxy. Now, touching on the Night Sisters here, there could be a large portion of the audience that has no idea who they are because there really hasn't been much said about them in like the live action shows and movies. Not a whole lot of information on the Night Sisters. However, those who have played the last couple of Star Wars Jedi video games will know that the Night Sisters have a lot of story and lore baked into those games. Now, eventually, and if I remember correctly, I believe this is in the second episode, we do meet an Inquisitor, a masked Inquisitor, who's also working with the Night Sister. Now, with this Inquisitor not having any speaking lines and you can't see them at all, it's pretty clear that they're going to have some kind of fancy reveal on what their identity truly is. I mean, why else would you mask them up like that? Turning over to the good guys, when we meet Ahsoka, she's also looking for the same star map that the Night Sister and these Dark Jedi are looking for. After she does find it, she ultimately meets up with Hera Syndulla, who's now a general, I believe. And after some talkie-talkie, Hera advises her to seek out Sabine Wren, who she thinks can help Ahsoka out with unlocking this star map. And apparently, according to the show, Ahsoka had recently attempted to train Sabine to be a Jedi, but as we find out, that went sideways a while ago, and now the two have this weird, strained, awkward relationship with one another. Anyway, we fast forward, and Ahsoka does seek out Sabine and shows her the map and advises her to keep it on the ship as it's pretty important, and then Sabine pulls some typical rebellious shenanigans. After all, she is a rebel. And she does manage to unlock the map. However, because she left the safety of the ship, she's ambushed, and the Dark Apprentice and some droids manage to steal the map from her. And she gets defeated in a lightsaber battle with the Apprentice and gets stabbed. And then Ahsoka goes on to tell Sabine that she does believe that this map could be a possible way for them to find Ezra, just as the antagonists of the show believe that it will lead them to Grand Admiral Thrawn. And that's pretty much the gist of the plot of the show up to this point. They found this map, and now they're gonna be potentially leaving the known galaxy to a different one. Now, one thing that's interesting about this show is that it is more or less a continuation of the animated show Rebels. Now, how familiar you are with the show Rebels, I think may directly impact your enjoyment of this show. For those people who aren't familiar with Rebels, I don't imagine they are going to care much about this Ezra character because they aren't even going to know who he is. It's hard to get invested in the characters that you know nothing about. On the flip side of that, people who are familiar with Rebels will no doubt be super curious to find out just what has gone on with Ezra since the finale of that show. The score and the music in this show was hit and miss with me. I felt it was at its best when it was doing some sinister and more foreboding musical elements. For example, the music that is playing during the end credit scene. I thought there was some catchiness to that, and I enjoyed it. But outside of that, it wasn't doing a whole lot for me. And on a more nerdy note, I just want to talk about these lightsabers in the show for a moment. I did enjoy like the slight offset colors for the Dark Force users' lightsabers, how they weren't red, and they had that orange hue to them. I'm really kind of curious to see the reasoning behind that, if there is a reason. But also Ahsoka's lightsabers, those white ones. I believe those are the only white lightsabers we've seen in a live-action show. But how they sound, like when she fires them up and they're humming, they have this smoothness to them. And I just think that's really neat because lightsabers can differ in their sound quality, not just differ in their color quality. Like if you remember Kylo Ren's lightsaber from the sequel trilogy, his lightsaber was very loud and crackled, whereas Ahsoka's is very smooth, and it almost doesn't make any noise. It has an actual just hum to it. I don't know, it's just a weird little detail that I think is very neat. Now, while these first 2 episodes didn't exactly knock my socks off, I did feel like the show did a nice job of setting up some potentially nice plot threads. I'm really curious to see what happens with really all of the antagonists at this point, with the Dark Jedi, the Night Sister, and especially that Masked Inquisitor, who really has fan theories running wild already on who this Masked Inquisitor is going to be. So that could be pretty fun to find out. Or they'll completely drop the ball and it'll be really dumb. We'll see. So don't be afraid to leave something down in the comments. Maybe you have your own fan theory on who this Masked Inquisitor is, or if you completely disagree with anything I've said on here, let's talk about it. So I do believe the show has some good potential here in the future for the next 6 episodes, I want to say. Hopefully it stays strong and they do right, and I will remain cautiously optimistic going forward. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you soon.